Hey, welcome back. Sorry for the long absence. I spent the first half of the month looking for and buying a new graphics card. And thankfully, your boy was able to upgrade to a 3070. And I spent the latter half of this month trying to recover from a chest infection that nearly took me out while I was sleeping. I'm at the tail end of the disease now, so I think I can put out one more video before I work on the longer video I had in mind. Sorry, I think I can't squeeze in a chats video for this month because I'm really busy on that bigger video that I'm working on. So, anyways, let's get right into it. With the release of the update Hornet Sting, the USSR Air Tree received a new top-tier aircraft in the form of the Su-30SM. But you already know all about that. 14 missiles, 12 of which are the new R-77-1 missiles with longer range. The radar isn't the BARS radar, the ESA radar. Retains the AL-31 engines, but it's thrust vectoring, so the game added a Cobra button. You already know about that. So, instead of talking about the game Su-30, let's talk about the Su-30 in a historical context. Let's talk about a bit of history of the Su-30. In the mid-1980s, a project to develop an improved interceptor based on the twin-seat Su-27UB trainer was in the works. The converted Su-27UBs were given the name T-10PU, which stood for Improved Interceptor, and by 1988 it was given the go-ahead to be produced as the Su-30. The original Su-30s didn't have canards or thrust vectoring capabilities, but only had more hardpoints, and it was a two-seater and had IFR capabilities. You could also tell that compared to the Su-27, the IRST was moved to the right, where it is now, or to the left if you're looking at the front. The only expert customer of this original Su-30K was the Indian Air Force and the Russian Air Force. With the arrival of newer guided ordnance to the VVS and Russian naval aviation in the mid-1990s, a proposal was made to create a strike fighter based on the Su-30 with new avionics and newer weapons. This new vehicle, designated the Su-30MK, which literally means modernized Su-30K, was also intended for export. The new variant included a new radar, the N011 bars, and a new weapon control system, whose features allow the WSO to manually guide the KH-59 bomb manually through its television system. However, this Su-30MK didn't have canards or thrust vectoring yet. The first ones to receive this upgrade were the Indian Su-30Ks in the 2000s, adopting the tech of the Su-37 tech demonstrator. The final Su-30MKIS built had the thrust vectoring AL-31FP engines, canards, and the N011M BARS radar. Hindustan Aircraft Limited was licensed to build 140 Su-30MKIs for India, which to this day have been upgraded to fire newer weapons and Western weapons. Su-30MKIs were recently upgraded to fire the Israeli I-Derby-ER missiles, Indian Astra missiles, and reports exist that the Mica missiles were also successfully tested on the Su-30MKI. Likewise, the ground ordnance of the Su-30MKI have also been augmented to include Indian and Israeli ordnance. The success of the Su-30MKI pushed forward a trend in exports to other countries. China, still struggling with the domestic upgrade of the Su-27SK and J-11 in the 2000s, bought two more flanker variants for the PLAAF. The first one was the Su-30MK, which was given the designation Su-30MKK to denote China. The Su-30MKK did not receive any significant upgrades during its service lifetime with the PLAAF. Later in 2004, China renewed an order for modernized Su-30MKKs, which gained the designation Su-30MK2. China's last flanker, surprisingly, was the Su-35, in a deal signed in 2015 with much scrutiny due to allegations of copying from Chinese companies, China was able to receive 24 Su-35s from Russia. In Russia, the Su-30SM as it is now would not take its final form until 2012. Based on the Su-30MKI standard, the Su-30SM was delivered to the Russian Air Force in 2016. Some of these aircraft were delivered to the Russian Naval Aviation, where it would receive its iconic black camouflage. Well, that's the brief history of the Su-30SM. Now, let me talk about the actual topic of this video, why Russia's air tree is just about to get better. Well, now that Russia's gotten over the hump of its awful N001 radar, all that's left to get for Russia's air tree would be the Su-35, which will have a better engine and even better radar with the same hardpoints as the Su-30SM. Its only downside would be the lack of thrust vectoring and the lack of canards. After that, or possibly before that, would be the MiG-29K. So it's a MiG-29 SMT without the fat back and basically just the same weapons. Then there would be possibly the MiG-35, which uses a electronically scanned array radar that could be upgraded to an active electronically scanned array radar if necessary, because the current ESA radars of Russia are PESA radars. It can be upgradable to ESA for an added benefit. And finally, since there's already one sample that has been delivered to the Russian Air Force, Russia could also get the Su-30SM2. The Su-30SM2 is arguably the ultimate upgrade to the Su-30. It improves upon the radar, getting the Su-35's IRBIS radar, getting rid of the AL-31 engines and receiving the AL-41F engines and thus losing thrust vectoring, but with an improved engine power. And the SM2 is also rated to carry new weapons like the R-37. Since the Su-30SM2 will be probably a way later variant, it will possibly receive the next generation of IR missiles that probably will see the R-74 or R-74M IR missile for the Su-30SM2. But Russia's not the only one that might get good stuff. There's also the looming threat of Indian aircraft being placed in the British tech tree. Because this is a very deep well, Gaijin can just pull out from when Britain needs a new plane. It's entirely possible that the Su-30MKI and all of its new weapons can make its way to the British tech tree. The Indian Air Force MiG-29Ks are also on the table. These aircraft are far more likely to show up in that tech tree compared to the other possible aircraft like the Rafale and Mirage 2000. Yes, we saw the Bison show up in the British tech tree. It's very likely we can possibly get MiG-29Ks from the Indian Navy and Su-30MKIs from the Air Force. But, you know, it's not yet happened, so I'll just thinking about stuff. Now let's move on to China. China, as said before, is slated to have their own Su-30 NKK and Su-35 on top of the J-15, J-16, and J-10 variants that are slated to arrive. On top of that, they could also get the Taiwanese aircraft that could include the F-16A Block 20 MLU, later variant with AMRAAMs and guided bombs, the FCK Chingguo, and possibly even the newer F-16V Block 70. So yeah, the Su-30SM is just the beginning of good things to come to the Russian tech tree. It even improves on the ground RB tree for the USSR because it allows it to get a fighter with 6 Kh-38 MTs to pair with the Su-34 and 6 Kh-38 MTs of its own. For those that are unaware, well, if you are playing top tier, you should be aware of it. A fighter and strike fighter do not raise the SP cost of each other when you are destroyed in one. So if you get shot down in an Su-34, the SP cost of the Su-30SM will remain the same. This is why people who play top-tier US carry the F-16C and F-15E at the same time. Germans carry the Eurofighter and the Tornado at the same time. The British carry the Typhoon and Tornado, and so on and so forth. So for the Americans, the only aircraft that can possibly compare to the Su-30SM in missile count would be probably the F-15EX or the earlier advanced Eagle variants. The Super Hornet as well can carry 12 AMRAAMs and 2 AIM-9s, so it could match the Su-30SM in missile count. But the Super Hornet can also carry the extremely new AIM-174B that can match the R-37 in range, if not in speed. Well, anyway, that's it for this short video. The Su-30SM is a great sign for things to come with the Russian tech tree, but really the one vehicle I'm looking forward to is this Japanese F2. The F2 isn't anything special now because we already have the ESA radars in game, but the F2 holds a special place in my heart as one of those user skins that I originally first used on a plane when I started playing this game in 2015, 10 years ago. Can you believe it? Can you believe it's been 10 years since I started playing War Thunder? The user skin that I first used was applying the JASDF blue camouflage on the A6M2. And I thought that was the craziest thing, the most coolest thing I've ever done to the A6M2. Now, we are on the cusp of getting the Japanese Mitsubishi F2. It's around the corner. I can feel it. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll try to get better to do more videos. But anyways, as usual, this is the Dr. MD. Godspeed.